Okay, Marcus, my latest obsession is Succession. I am binge watching that like a crazy person right now. I'm on like halfway through season 4, the final ending. No spoilers. But I don't know if I'm a bad person, but I'm rooting for Logan Roy, the anti-hero in it, right? That guy, I find myself sympathizing with him, and I shouldn't. He's a monster. But there are some real leadership sort of management lessons that come out for me. Have you got any lessons you've pulled out of that show?
Well, I mean, I'm a binge watcher. Every
Mm.
from Prime to Netflix to Apple, Paramount, Disney, HBO. So I love all these, and this is a show that basically it starts off with basically just the chaos, and an organization, and then how you, I mean, which one you pick, what do you do, what Succession, obviously the
Yeah.
Succession, right? Um, I'm still basically in the beginning of it. If I were to apply this to project management, it is crazy, right? And the thing about it is like, it's so true in life where it's just like, there are so many pieces of the pie that I'm not sure where they fit. I'm not sure. Like I always tell people now in the industry that we're in, I'm like, it's a Game of Thrones. People that are my friends say, it's a Game of Thrones. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just, it's all about chess pieces and playing and basically manipulate. I remember the word manipulation can be positive or negative.
Yes.
So, um, I just love how it basically tries to bring out the human nature of everybody. And at the end of the day, like I'll say, and I'll just be generic, is our end goal is obviously to be a partner, to be basically a trusted companion
Yeah.
through the entire thing. And I don't know how much trust there is with any of that show or the characters that are in it, but and I would love to see how we can actually maybe make a chart of how this could apply to a project. But every project has quite the craziness into it, and maybe you could give a better analytical sort of analysis of this and break it down with project management. I would love to hear this. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah. So what my takeaways are, so a project or an organization, Logan Roy runs a business, which is a big project in and of itself, right? And
Yeah.
there's a leadership there. So my takeaways for him is, one, I observe he never gets caught up in minutiae, right? He's never checking his email. He's on it. He's on task. He's doing things. He delegates, and he only focuses on the strategy and the big stuff. That's a good takeaway for any project manager, right? If you're doing 5 hours a day in emails, you're not project managing anything except your inbox. So stop doing that. So that's thing one. The other thing is the people around him, right? Yes, he's a monster and a bully, but there's also people around. He could never do that job without the people around him. He knows he needs a CFO. He knows he needs a manager for this, manager for that, right? And he has them. So again, there's a recognition of that. But the real thing there is the entitlement of the kids around him. So he has 4 kids. One sort of not in the business, 3 are, right? So they're all in the business. There's an entitlement there because they haven't earned that level, right? So the other people around the business know that they're special children, right? You can't fire them, you can't tell them off. Logan Roy, the dad, doesn't respect them because they haven't earned their place there, right? So if they wanted respect, and this is what the whole show's about, is who takes over and who's worthy. None of them are worthy because they've never been out in the market and tested themselves. Darwinism always wins. Logan Roy is at the top of that organization because Darwinism has put him there, right? He has beat out everyone else to have that spot. And his company has beat out other companies to be top dog, right? So you have to have people around you who have earned that position through competence, through social proof, through a body of work. That's a real takeaway for me. Just having people, and you see this in the construction industry, is terrible for this. Family businesses, right? It's the success rate of a family business to pass from one to the other, from one generation to the other, is quite low because the dynamism of the people that started it is not there. The hunger's not there unless someone's actually gone out into the marketplace and taken their knocks and learnt their craft and then come back into the business. So what's the takeaway for project management? Cronyism, entitlement doesn't work, right? Putting people in jobs who aren't good enough doesn't work. Micromanaging doesn't work, right? These are all traits in projects that you see every day, right? I go to several projects I'm involved in, and there are some people there who just shouldn't be project managing that job. They've got it through, I don't know, just been in the right place, right time, right? But competence must win out, and always does in the end.
It's funny. I just saw some little picture. I think it was on Instagram or something like that. And then it says basically, when you promote the wrong people, you will lose the good ones. Right?
Oh, so true. What did Steve Jobs say? A players want to be with A players. And there's nothing more demoralizing than having someone who's not good stay in the team and not get fired.
Well, and another thing too is, in this industry they're in right now, where it's just a lot of good leaders have left some companies, right? And then sometimes they're called leftovers that were basically put in place. And, sometimes I just don't know if they have that, like that word, je ne sais quoi. I've never liked that word. But at the exact same time, because I was told one time in architecture school, I just didn't have that je ne sais quoi. I'm like, great. I'm glad that you called me a contractor.
Yeah.
If whoever said that to me is watching it, you'll know who I mean. But, and the thing about it is, I always believed in how we do things, because I believe in basically nuts and bolts. I'm the kind of guy, just like you. I mean, I'm wearing a suit and tie one day and someone's like, oh, we got a leak down there. I'm like, I will jump in the sewer. I'll get covered in turd. And I will basically say, throw me the wrench. Your suit's ruined. Who cares? It's just a suit. Like, people respect people who basically say, they don't want to say, go in the battle. They want to follow me into battle. Right. And I think a lot of people, I don't know, like, where it's gone these days, but it's one of those things where I'm learning more and more as I get older that, I had a conversation with people today saying that, what, my priorities might not be yours. When they were talking about collaboration,
Yeah.
I respect someone's time now more than I ever did. Respect my time. I'll respect yours. We have to find a common ground, right? And I mean, in this show, it's just like, you got, it will rise. And when it rises, I believe that, I'm going to say it, is absolute power corrupts absolutely. Most of the time, you'll see that the leader are chosen when they didn't want to lead.
Yeah.
They actually wanted to be the best they could with their people. You know what I mean? And they still like the work. Like, some people like the title, and then some people like the work. It'd be great if you could find that mixture. But at the end of the day, I look for the person who has that big title that is still that worker. And those are the people that I trust the most, that will get into the, the nitty gritty.
What you're saying is you're always looking for social proof, right? Proof you should have that job, proof you know what you're doing, proof you're competent.
Just someone who basically will, a very, a good engineer, and she's a leader at Stantec now. She said something to me one day, and basically she goes, I used to be a great engineer, and now that I'm getting better at engineering people.
Yeah.
And that was
social engineering for a reason, right?
Well, because you're engineering a project, and then now your role is to engineer people, right? And when I don't mean that in a derogatory way, or you're creating robots, but it's just like, my job now is so much more of like, how do I convince someone to do something? Or how do I, keep positivity or passion or excitement? And that's why sometimes, like, well, you're always so excited. They don't see when sometimes I shut the camera off and go, But it's tough. It's tough sometimes to basically keep that level. But remember, people look for encouragement. They look for, they want to be around people who want you to be better. And so at the end of the day, if I'm going to take something away or leave, is like, my job, all of us leaders as mentors, we should be able to basically bring the best out in people every single day. And if they do leave our company and they go somewhere else and become even greater, then that's awesome. At least left with a positive attitude, and they know that you always truly cared about them. And last thing is, I remember this. Someone says, nobody cares what you give them. They always remember how you treated them. So
true that. That's it. People remember how you leave and how you
felt.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a big thing. People don't leave companies, they leave people. Money's like number 3 or 4 on the list, actually.
Yeah.
It's happy. Yeah. But yeah, the succession thing fascinates me because there are lessons there. There's lessons how not to do things for sure. Don't be a monster. But there's also lessons there about what it takes to operate at a high level. And just because you've got the same DNA as someone doesn't mean you're good. Do you know what I mean? You've got to earn the right to be the leader, to be the top person.
Years ago, when I was a golfer back in the day, right? And I'll never forget, I was playing with a lot of the older, great players, and they used to know Hogan and stuff like that. And the one guy is like this, he goes, Marcus, the secret's in the dirt. The secret's in the dirt. He goes, go find it. And that means, he goes, you can't get great overnight. You have to work and blood and sweat. And so if I ever had a kid, which I don't, if I ever basically had a big company, maybe I will one day, is I would never put that person, at the top. I would basically make them be a grunt, you know what I mean? And grow up and basically just get their hands raw. And so when they do any position, people will respect them.
Yeah.
And that's what the most thing is respect. And then from that, you create a leader that people will follow, because you'll never expect someone to do something you can't do.
That's what the Logan Roy's kids suffer from. They want respect, but it's not been earned.
They didn't earn it.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Respect can only be given if it's earned. That's the good takeaway. We should wrap it up there. So if you haven't seen Succession, I highly recommend it. Every sort of like management and family dynamic is on display there and examined in that show. It's pretty awesome. Go and see it.